Well, good morning, keys players. I hope this video finds you well. This morning, what we're going to be looking at is a Sunday morning checklist. And really, what this video is designed to do is give you a quick video on the things that you're going to want to run through as you arrive on Sunday morning. So let's take a look. So, the first thing that you're really going to want to make sure that you do is when you arrive, you're going to make sure that you're turning on your computer. And what I mean by that is that sometimes what we need to do is restart the computer or getting our system completely fresh. So if you arrive, it's not quite working, just restart everything, get it going again, and then that should maybe help some of the audio things that you might be having problems with if you're not getting sound when you arrive. Second thing we wanted to make sure that we check is our hardware. So just make sure all the cables are plugged in as they should be from the Nano controller or the Nord to the computer. If anything isn't exactly hooked up, obviously you're not going to get the best results because data is not flowing through like it needs to into the system. So just make sure your hardware cables are checked, USB cables, things like that. All right, so let's talk about how we're going to pull up our set for the day. So the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we pull up the correct file. So the way we're going to do that is we are going to go to this little happy face finder icon on a Mac at the bottom left of the dock. Click here. There is a folder called Mega. So this is where we're going to be storing the file that you'll be using. You'll be using the file that's named copy this file. So all we're going to do is double click on this file and this is going to open up our file. So what I'd like for you guys to do is make a copy of it. You can make a copy before you open it, or you can make it a copy as a save as you open up the file, whatever makes sense for you. But just make sure you copy that file and then work in a new file so that that original file stays clean for everyone. All right. So now that we've pulled up our file and you've made a copy of it, what we're going to do next is just make sure that all the settings in our system here are as they should be. So the first thing we want to make sure is that our keyboards and our sustain pedals are assigned as they need to be. So on the top left, I'm going to make this big. On the top left here, there are 3 buttons. One says layout, one says edit, and one says perform. Let's go ahead and click on layout. So the way you make sure that your hardware is talking to the template here is you're going to click on the key bed right here, and then you're going to click assign. You're going to start hitting keys, and then that's going to assign the piano or the controller that you're using. Then hit assign one more time, and that finalizes that portion. Now we're going to go to the pedal. We're going to do the same exact thing, hit assign, click it again, send some MIDI data, and then click assign again. So now my keyboard, my pedal, they're assigned. So now we should be able to be getting data flowing into the system to trigger the sounds. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to make sure that all of the levels in our system are as they should be. So there's a couple of things that could affect whether or not we're getting sound or not. So the first is this master volume on the very right. If this volume isn't up, then nothing's going to come through. So you want to make sure that your master volume is always set probably about 3/4 of the way. On any particular sound, we want to make sure that we pull up the fader to pull that sound in. So for example, on this grand piano, if it's all the way down and I hit the keys, nothing comes through, right? But if I pull it all the way up, sound comes through. All right, the other thing that can affect whether or not sound is going to come through is our filters. So at the top left, we have the piano tone. So I'm moving that one right now. And on the top right, we have the synth tone. Both of those filters will pull in and out the brightness of the sound to the point of hearing nothing. So for example, if I play this piano like this, oh, actually, there we go. Got to pull up the fader. And then I pull it down. Starting to remove some of the sound, and if I pull it all the way down, you're going to hear nothing. So just make sure that your filters are up, that your synth tone is up to pull in sound, just to make sure everything's coming through. The other way you can tell if sound is being activated is if I'm hitting the keys and I'm seeing the green meters rise and I know something's coming through. And so that's how it tells me, hey, there's something in the audio chain that we need to diagnose. So that's also an indicator of sound being able to come through successfully. It's just a matter of setting levels. All right, so we've checked our faders, our filters. The other thing that can happen from time to time, I won't go into the detail of this, but basically sometimes if I pull in certain patches, the audio instrument that we use might be having an issue. So if necessary, you might have to just use a different patch. There's some things that we're working through on the rig to make sure that it's all working perfectly. But sometimes there's a couple of little glitches that I'm still working through at the moment. But just find a patch that works and use whatever patch you can there. The last thing that I want to make sure that you guys are aware of is the audio and how it's routed. So when you go into main stage, what you also want to make sure is that when you click up here and you go to the preferences section, that the audio is actually routing to where you want it to go. So the audio output, this first one right here, it should say Scarlett 4i4 or whatever device that the well is using to send your audio out. And that should also be the same thing when you check the system preferences of the computer itself. So again, system preferences is top left, click here, go to sound. Same thing, your output should be the output that you want it to be. And that will make sure that all that audio is routed to the board. So that's a quick basic overview on how to pull up your template, set it up for success, and make sure that any audio problems you're having are resolved before you play.